Welcome to Chasing the Dream. My name is Ethan Chazin. I am a New York-based people strategist and culture transformation coach. And I'm really excited to have a gentleman on our show today, Ron Gold. So I want to introduce you all to Ron, and then we're going to dive right in. Is that okay, Ron?
It's great. I look forward to chasing the dream.
Thank you. So Ron's journey to entrepreneurship is really a story of resilience. For over 25 years, he thrived as a top Wall Street executive, successful career, loving family, and a passion for fitness. Then a devastating accident ended it all, leaving him reliant on in home care. After months of recovery, he found a new purpose. Inspired by his own personal experience, Ron founded Lean On We, a caregiver network, transforming how families find support. Now an entrepreneur and a motivational speaker, his Lean On We has helped more than 10,000 families to navigate the path to finding compassionate care solutions. Ron is fond of asking, why not you? So without further ado, Ron, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Um, the first thing I wanted to ask is if you felt comfortable sharing your backstory for the benefit of the audience and maybe kind of gives directionally some insight for them into your passion with Lean On Way.
Sure. I was in a completely different path. I worked I worked in Wall Street really my entire career. I really enjoyed it. I worked at Lehman Brothers. I worked at Barclays. Lehman Brothers was really special. There was very strong culture to the organization. Maybe from outside of Wall Street you don't feel it as much, but Lehman Brothers, it was always the little guys punching above our weight. We weren't as big as Merrill and Goldman and Morgan and firms like that, and we loved taking market share from them. It was I don't know, maybe the underdog, uh, doing things that you wouldn't expect and kind of winning pieces of business. My area was Asia equities. I just sort of fell into that. I and I, it's ironic because in college I majored in Asian studies and finance, and I ended up working in Asian equity. So it was a pretty good fit. And my job was to focus on Asian equity investments for US based institutional investors. And I'd go over to Asia frequently, generally quarterly or 2 or 3 times a year. And I had many friends over there. And then Lehman went under in 2008, in September 2008. And that was that was an incredibly pivotal moment for me because here I am. I've been totally invested mentally and physically at Lehman Brothers, and all of a sudden the firm goes under.
Right.
My compensation was tied to equity that's now become worthless, and now I'm out of work in the biggest financial calamity in decades. I guess I would say since the '87 crash.
Right.
And so I was not a little bit concerned, and but luckily I was able to uh, actually get a few offers, and I ended up going with Barclays and building their Asia equity business from scratch. And then in Thanksgiving weekend 2011, I was bicycling with a group of friends. It was Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, and bicycling was something I did a lot of. I really enjoyed it. It was this sort of stunning Saturday morning, blue skies, bright sun, unseasonably warm. Well, at least we thought it was unseasonably warm back then. Now we know what is unseasonably warm is not totally clear anymore. But yes,
Right.
that's what we knew then. We rode 50 miles from my home in northern New Jersey to Harriman Park in New York State, and we were a few miles from home when all of a sudden an out of control crosses a solid yellow line in the center line. The road curved. She went straight, and she went right into Zach and to me. And the last thing I remember is keep your head up high so it doesn't bear the brunt of that impact that you can't avoid. Zach was thrown over the guardrail. He'd need a hip replacement, but he was otherwise okay. I would not be okay. Helicopter soon landed, medevac me to Hackensack Hospital. Trauma team was there waiting for me, but it was not promising. I had massive internal and orthopedic injuries. My femur was sticking out of my thigh. My spleen was removed. I coded. I woke weeks later from an induced coma. They had saved my life, but my spine was crushed, and I'm now paraplegic. And I can't begin to express for you what a shock it is to come to and all of a sudden find out that you're paralyzed. And I couldn't conceive of it.
I guess my question is, and thank you for sharing that, being at home, dealing with everything that you dealt with. One of the things that you shared with me, Ron, was that was, some people talk about in their lives having that one seminal moment. And you were sharing with me that made you realize about, the notion of care and family care. And I just was wondering if you could kind of share some of the perspective during that period, with how you came to the lean on way as this passion play for you.
Yeah. So I was in the ICU for 2 months, and then I was in rehab at Kessler in West Orange for 3 months. I came home after 5 months to what? To try and rebuild my life, but everything I knew was gone. I mean, my career was gone, my pursuits were gone, and they weren't going to be clawing back. I was never able to go upstairs back to my bedroom. The den became a bedroom. It became my bedroom. And a spinal cord injury is really much more than you can't walk. I'm not to say that you can't walk is anything little, because it isn't, but there's all kinds of other complications. And my case was particularly bad. So it was, I almost lost my leg, and I have a chronic wound on my leg still, and that causes more complications. So I needed care, and I needed ongoing care. And most Americans think that your home care is covered by your health insurance, whether it's private or Medicare, but it isn't, which is quite a shock to a lot of people. And, I had managed care for my parents, and I saw what that was about. But when you're the recipient, it's really a whole nother ballgame. And I saw what was going on. I saw there's sort of two options to think about when you think about care at home. You can call up an agency, and their agency will hire someone and send them out to you.
Right.
And the other option is to go on your network, and your neighbor's uncle used someone. So they each have advantages and disadvantages. The agency's easy. You just call them and they'll send someone out to you. They're vetted, and they'll, if that caregiver can't make it, they'll send somebody else. But it's also the most expensive option, and you can't choose who comes into your home. Hiring on your own is less.
What do you mean you can't choose? I mean,
they're not going to let you interview and choose who you want. They're going to find someone who's available with your schedule to come into your home.
Okay.
Based on, broadly speaking, based on what's going on. But if you need care, it's really not, it's not just that is the thing. Let's say someone's got Parkinson's, because my dad had Parkinson's. If you just because of a caregiver's experience in Parkinson's doesn't mean it's the right caregiver for you. There may be other things going on. You may have a pet, and this person may not work with a pet. You may have different interests. It's a whole slew of things. someone with experience in dealing with Parkinson's is just the start of it, really. I mean, it's an important part, but I would say that most caregivers have most experienced caregivers would have some experience with that, right? You would think. But you're paying a significant amount of money. It'd be nice to choose who comes into your home, and that's sort of the raison d'etre, because I saw all these marketplace companies where you have providers and you have customers. They find each other online, and there you go. Now, I understand that physical care at home is much more personal. It's very different than finding a handyman. I get that, but our thinking was, well, I told you what the advantages of an agency are, and also the disadvantage. The advantage of hiring on your own is you can choose the person, and they're less expensive, but you have no way to vet that person, and they can't make it. You can be stuck. So we said, well, why don't we play intermediary? We'll create a network of caregivers, and what we'll do is we'll do the homework for you. We'll meet them. We'll get references. We'll take a fingerprint. We'll send that fingerprint to the FBI. We'll interview them. We'll create a video, and we'll create an online profile. So now you have all the as much information as you can have. You tell us what's going on. We put it into our system. We shortlist it. We find 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, caregivers who fit your filters and are available, and you can interview and hire whoever you want with our guidance.
I'm really fascinated, but first of all, I'm kind of shocked, and I think I alluded to this if I didn't just tell you last time we spoke. I'm shocked that there was no kind of existing matching service, and the fact that you go through and you literally do the vetting for both parties makes logical sense to me. I still can't fathom how it doesn't exist, and I'm like wondering from your perspective, your own personal experience, what you went through that led you to say, there's got to be a better mousetrap out there. There's got to be a way based on your own experiences,
Well, based on my own experience, I only needed a little bit of help, and agencies will have significant hourly minimums. So that wasn't really going to work well for me. And it seemed obvious that we should, there's nothing wrong with those two options, but it isn't two sizes fit all. And there should be more options for people to get what they need, something that can, over time, will be very expensive. And why can't we give people more options to do this? It seemed like an obvious thing. I'd say one reason why you don't have it is because each state has different regulations, and those regulations are there to, quote, protect the consumer, but they also protect embedded constituencies, and they want and they are invested in the status quo. So it may make a lot of sense for them to buy into keeping things as they are, even though that may not be best for the consumer.
So when did you take this from idea, conception, to kind of testing the model to see what it would take to build it, to launching it? Like, how did this come about?
It was 10 years ago, and my wife and I started it. We had the idea to do it, but we knew we had the idea. We knew the idea made sense, but we also didn't have extensive experience in the industry. And that's when we partnered with and brought on Denise Kubir, who is an RN, extensive experience in the home care setting, in assisted living setting, in skilled nursing setting. And so she was really an ideal fit for us. And that's how we started putting it into place.
One of the things that, and I'm not sure how Lean On We fits into this, but I'd love to know your perspective, is the idea, the concept of the tremendous burden placed on the sandwich caregiver, right? The person in the home who has maybe a parent who needs care, children who needs care, and they have to kind of take everybody's information, everybody's medical information, everybody's background experience, and get it so that they can manage it. How does this, I mean, having Lean On We as kind of a vetting process, I would imagine takes a lot of the pain out of the process or a lot of the kind of work. I mean, that seems to be the primary motivator other than the economy of it, the cost of saving your clients money, having to go about it themselves.
Yes, that's true. I would say one of the big stumbling blocks that people come into is that every everyone is reluctant to have care. Nobody wants to have care. You're losing a piece of your independence, and by seeing a video, and it allows the person receiving care, who's generally the parent of the sandwich generation person you're referring to, it allows that person to get much more comfortable with having someone in your home.
The video is what? It's of the potential caregiver. It's so they see
Yes.
in advance. Okay, so you've
Yeah, about a
literally
minute and a
given,
half. Right. Not a long video, but yeah,
but
it's
you've
enough.
given them an opportunity to
Right.
for them to vet the caregiver because of the due diligence you're doing up front.
Right.
So, what are some of the considerations? So, like somebody says, you know what, Ron, this is clearly something that's important to me. I need it. How do they go about engaging Lean On We as part of their solution for their loved
Well,
one?
they can just go to our website, leanonwe.com,
Mhm.
um, and then they can go and they can see how we operate. So that's really the easiest way to do it. And once you do that, or you call us, or you send us an email online, and then we'll set up a conversation, and you'll tell us what's going on in your family, what's going on with your parent, and what you think you need. And some of the considerations, like I said, are not just whether this person has dementia. It can be, does the caregiver have a car? Does the caregiver drive? Is the caregiver comfortable with pets in the house? Is the caregiver comfortable with a man and a wife in the home?
Okay.
Uh, uh, are you in a small apartment? Do you have room to have a live-in stay with you? Because live-in can be a much more economical way to go,
Okay.
and therefore that's certainly something that you want to consider, right? Uh,
Well, first of all, is this Lean On We available in all 50 states?
no, we're in the greater New York area.
Okay. And when you think about 2025 and beyond in terms of the organic growth, where do you see Lean On We going?
What I'd like to do, the way I see it growing, is you spoke of the sandwich generation, and we know that families struggle with childcare in the workplace, and it's become a key benefit issue for working parents. Increasingly, I know I've done some due diligence on this. I know that senior caregiving has become a big issue in the workplace, where these sandwich generation employees are dealing with their own children, but they're also dealing with care for the parents. And something is going on with their parents, and they don't know what to do. They haven't been there, and they're stressed out, and it takes a toll on the workforce. They're distracted, absent, taking leave, whatever it is. And what I want to do now is I want to bring Lean On We on as a workplace solution for working employees. So I'm looking to get in touch with, for the new year, to get in touch with HR and benefits officers and the like, and to figure out between benefits and employee assistance plans and how we can explore bringing that on in a broader sense.
One of the things that struck me when you and I spoke previously about, as you said, the lean on we as a service for people who are incredibly challenged right now, where they have multiple generations that they're responsible for taking care of their health and wellness. They have their own health and wellness that their employer should be taking care of, and then we have a state of just healthcare in America, for lack of a better word. It's just suboptimal on so many levels. And I'm kind of amazed, as you said, that you had to, what you went through, just to kind of observe from your own perspective, that the two choices you said were available to you neither was ideal. And then you have to now figure out how to find a caregiver and do it yourself. And so it's just really unfortunate, but it's also fortunate that you're kind of taking this upon yourself as a passion to make this something that's available. So it sounds like partnering with HR professionals, employee benefits, in bringing this into organizations. Is there a particular kind of employer that makes, whether it's size, industry, sector, culture, is there a kind of organization that in you're talking to them goes, oh, Ron, we get this. This is an important thing that we want and need to offer our people?
I think if you speak to HR professionals, they'll say this is an issue. And I would say that the size that we're looking at are sort of mid-size, maybe 500 to 2,500, something like that, I guess I'd say.
Okay.
Nothing, not really larger. Maybe larger would have something more extensive in mind. But I think it's that size where maybe even a little smaller than that, for sure. But I think these are issues they're dealing with. And I saw it with my daughter. My daughter worked for Deloitte, and she called up, she reached out to her EAP at work for a service. And it took a couple of weeks to get someone to call her back. And it was really just sort of a referral service. It wasn't anyone who had any real skin in the game, or real extensive knowledge on which you should do it. This is not to, it's not to diss Deloitte. I just think it's the state of play where we are. And,
Right.
and we should think more creatively on what we can do to help families. I mean, there are numerous issues with healthcare, and this is just one more of them. I've thought about it, and I think we've been thoughtful at Lean On We on how to think about it, and we've been thoughtful on a number of counts. But people have to give. They have to work through lots of different issues with healthcare. I mean, we see the animosity that went through when this horrible tragedy where this executive was killed, and people are cheering this as if this is good news, and it's clearly touching a nerve that there's extensive frustration from Americans at the state of the healthcare system in the country. And this is one piece of not a small piece, but it's one piece of a huge nut that as a country we're grappling with.
I really appreciate your perspective, Ron, from the vantage point of, you talk about the totality of healthcare being in crisis and the need to kind of overhaul. But as you said, there's only so much heavy lifting, I guess, any one person can do, but you've chosen to, based on your own story, kind of navigate offering one solution to people. And it's a powerful solution. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, before we let you off the show, thank you for coming on, to speaking with authenticity and transparency about your experience. Thank you. But also what you're doing to give other people this valuable service, the Lean On We of matching families in need of really critical caregiving with individuals who are professionals who do it. And I guess if somebody hears this story that Ron Gold tells, and they say, I want to get in touch with Ron, what's the best way to reach out to Ron? As you said, the website's one way to start to figure out how Lean On We can provide service for them.
Sure. My email is rongold@leanonwe.com. My phone number is 917-525-2174, or just on social media. LinkedIn is a good way to find me.
Just for anybody who didn't write it down as quickly as I did, all of Ron's contact details are going to be in the description below. So you just go there, you find the best way to get in touch with Ron and learn from Ron what Lean On We and what he's doing to deliver caregiving service to families in dire need. And as he's already achieved 10,000 families he's helped, this is critically important. So Ron, again, thank you for coming on Chazin on the Dream. It's been an abject pleasure and an honor to have you on the program.
I loved it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ron.